Imagine a child walking into school 20 years from now. She enters through doors that look familiar. There are classrooms, teachers, friends, sports fields, and the sound of children talking in the corridors. But almost everything beneath the surface has changed. She does not learn at the pace of the class. She does not wait while a lesson moves past something she has not understood. And she does not spend weeks repeating material she mastered long ago. Every lesson adjusts to her. When she struggles, the explanation changes. When she becomes curious, the lesson goes deeper. When she loses confidence, the system slows down and helps her rebuild it. Beside her is an artificial intelligence that has been learning how she learns. It remembers the mistakes she made last month. It knows which examples helped. It can turn fractions into a cooking problem, history into a debate, or physics into an experiment she can perform with objects in the room. For most of human history, this level of personal instruction was reserved for royalty, elites, or families wealthy enough to hire private tutors. Soon, it may be available to almost every child. And that creates a question far more important than whether students should be allowed to use ChatGPT. If every child can have a personal tutor, available at any time, what is school actually for? The modern school is one of humanity's greatest inventions. It allowed societies to educate millions of children using a structure that could operate at scale: one teacher, one room, one curriculum, and many students moving forward together. That structure was not foolish. It was a rational response to scarcity. There were never enough expert teachers to provide every child with individual instruction. Books, laboratories, and specialist knowledge were limited. Standardization made mass education possible, but standardization also created a compromise. Children of the same age were placed in the same room and taught the same material at the same speed in largely the same way. Even though no two children learn in exactly the same way, one student understands through diagrams, another needs to manipulate physical objects, a third needs a story, a fourth is too embarrassed to admit that the class moved on before the idea made sense. A teacher may recognize all of this, but one human being cannot provide 30 simultaneous private lessons. AI changes that constraint. For the first time, personalization may become possible at the scale of an entire education system. That does not automatically make education better, but it breaks one of the assumptions on which the traditional classroom was built, that individual attention must always be scarce. The least imaginative version of AI in education is a machine that gives students answers faster. That version may be convenient, but it can also weaken learning. A student who asks a question and immediately receives a polished solution may finish the assignment without developing the ability to think through the problem. A genuine AI tutor should do almost the opposite. It should resist the temptation to perform every difficult step for the learner. It should ask questions, offer hints, expose weak reasoning, and adjust the challenge so that the student still has to struggle productively. The best tutor does not simply remove friction. The best tutor knows which friction is necessary. This distinction matters because education is not the transfer of finished answers from one place to another. Learning changes the learner. It develops memory, judgment, persistence, and the ability to recognize patterns. If AI becomes a shortcut around those processes, it may produce students who submit better work but understand less. If it is designed as intellectual scaffolding, however, it may help students reach ideas that previously felt inaccessible. The goal is not to make thinking unnecessary. The goal is to make deeper thinking possible. Whenever people hear about AI tutors, the same fear appears. Will teachers become unnecessary? But perhaps we have confused one function of a teacher with the entire profession. Teachers explain concepts, but they also notice people. They notice when confidence is collapsing. They recognize the difference between laziness and fear. They know when a child needs another explanation. And when the child simply needs someone to say, "I know you can do this," they create trust, they manage conflict, they establish standards, they turn a group of individuals into a community. An AI may identify that a student repeatedly makes the same mathematical error. A teacher may understand that the student stopped trying because months of failure convinced them they were simply bad at maths. Those are not the same diagnosis. AI could remove hours of repetitive preparation, basic feedback, administrative work, and routine differentiation. That would not make the teacher less valuable. It could allow the teacher to spend more time doing the parts of education that require presence, judgment, and human connection. The teacher of the future may deliver fewer identical lectures. But the teacher may become more important as a mentor, coach, designer of experiences, and builder of character. AI may not remove the human from education. It may reveal which parts of education were human all along. But here we meet a serious contradiction. Parents, doctors, and educators have spent years warning that children should not spend their lives staring at screens. We worry about sleep, attention, physical inactivity, social development, and the replacement of real experience with digital consumption. At the same time, we are placing one of the most powerful learning technologies ever created behind the screen. So is the classroom of the future simply a silent room filled with children wearing headphones and talking to machines? It should not be. The future of AI in education should mean more intelligence in the learning environment, not necessarily more screen time. In fact, the best AI systems may often work behind the scenes. They can help a teacher prepare different versions of a lesson. They can identify patterns in student errors. They can create a short personalized exercise and then send the child away from the device to build, measure, debate, draw, write, perform, or experiment. A student might speak to an AI tutor for 10 minutes, receive a challenge, close the screen, and spend the next 40 minutes solving it with classmates in the physical world. The AI gives direction. The child does the learning. This is a crucial design principle. Technology should not consume the childhood it claims to improve. Young people still need movement, boredom, sunlight, books, handwriting, unstructured play, eye contact, and disagreements. They must learn to resolve without an algorithm mediating every moment. The goal is not to make school more digital. The goal is to use digital intelligence to make school more active, creative, and human. If knowledge and explanation become available almost everywhere, school no longer needs to organize most of the day around passive information delivery. That could transform what school feels like. Imagine a place where children spend more time making films, growing food, designing robots, performing theater, playing sport, running small businesses, conducting experiments, and solving problems in their communities. Mathematics would not disappear. It would appear inside engineering, finance, architecture, and science. Writing would not disappear. It would become the ability to persuade, explain, question, and communicate ideas that matter. History would not disappear. It would become a way to understand how societies make decisions, repeat mistakes, and construct narratives about themselves. The school of the future could look less like a factory line and more like a studio, laboratory, workshop, and civic community. Children may not attend because the building contains information they cannot find anywhere else. They may attend because it contains the people, equipment, challenges, and experiences they cannot reproduce alone at home. This is why school may survive even if its traditional instructional monopoly does not. Its value may move from delivering content to creating a life in which learning happens. For generations, families around the world have paid for education beyond school. Sometimes it is private tutoring, sometimes it is an after-school academy, an examination preparation service, a language teacher, or a specialist coach. The reason is usually the same. A child needs something the standard classroom cannot provide consistently, more attention, more practice, a different explanation or support aimed at a specific goal, AI could make the basic layer of that support dramatically cheaper and more widely available. A child may no longer need to wait several days or pay for an hour of another person's time simply to hear a concept explained differently. An AI tutor can provide practice, feedback, and patient repetition at almost any hour. That may disrupt the most routine form of tutoring, but it also exposes something important. Parents were never paying only for explanations. They were paying for accountability, structure, encouragement, discipline, confidence, strategic judgment, and the reassurance that another human being was paying close attention to their child. An AI can explain calculus at midnight. That does not mean it can make a discouraged teenager care about tomorrow. So private tutoring may not disappear. It may be reinvented. Routine explanation and practice may become largely AI supported. Human tutors may become coaches who diagnose deeper difficulties, set goals, monitor progress, challenge excuses, and build the student's independence. The value moves from possessing the answer to knowing how to develop the learner. And there is a hopeful possibility here. High-quality individual support has traditionally followed family income. If safe and effective AI tutoring becomes broadly accessible, millions of children may gain a level of assistance that their families could never previously afford. But this is not guaranteed. A free generic chatbot and a carefully designed, curriculum-aligned, privacy-protecting tutor are not the same thing. If affluent students receive superior systems, human coaching, and protected environments, while disadvantaged students receive only cheap automation, AI could reproduce inequality rather than reduce it. Access is not simply access to a device, it is access to quality, guidance, and human support. AI does not merely challenge teaching, it challenges assessment. For decades, homework and written assignments were treated as evidence of what a student could do independently. That assumption is now fragile. A student can ask AI to draft an essay, solve an equation, summarize a book, generate code, or produce an argument in seconds. Schools can respond with detection software and stricter surveillance, but that may become an endless contest between one technology and another. The deeper response is to reconsider what assessment is meant to measure. Perhaps students will need to defend their work orally. Perhaps they will be evaluated while solving unfamiliar problems in real time. Perhaps assessment will include projects, experiments, performances, portfolios, and collaboration. And perhaps using AI will sometimes be allowed, but the student will have to demonstrate judgment. Which suggestions were accepted, which were rejected, what was verified, and how was the final decision made. In the professional world, people will often work with intelligent systems. Testing students as though those systems do not exist may become increasingly artificial. But allowing AI without requiring understanding would be equally meaningless. The important question is no longer, did a machine touch this work? It is, what can this student understand, explain, evaluate, and create with and without assistance? There was a time when literacy meant being able to read and write. Later, digital literacy meant being able to use computers and navigate the internet. The next literacy may be the ability to work with artificial intelligence without surrendering judgment to it. Students will need to understand that AI can sound confident while being wrong. They will need to recognize bias, protect private information, verify claims, and distinguish generated plausibility from evidence. They will need to know when AI is useful, when it is unnecessary, and when its use is ethically inappropriate. They will also need to learn how to formulate problems clearly, compare alternatives, and inspect the reasoning behind the recommendation. Prompting alone is not a serious educational objective. The deeper skill is directing intelligence responsibly. A person who can ask an AI for anything, but cannot judge the response, is not empowered. They are dependent. AI literacy, therefore, is not merely technical training. It is critical thinking under new conditions. Universities face the same question at a larger scale. If a student can access expert explanations, simulations, translations, and personalized learning from almost anywhere, what remains unique about university? The answer cannot simply be lectures. Universities may need to concentrate their value in what cannot be reproduced by an AI conversation. Laboratories, clinical training, original research, expert mentorship, difficult peer communities, professional networks, shared intellectual standards, and recognized proof of competence. Some degrees will remain essential, especially where society requires deep knowledge, supervised practice, and formal responsibility. But other programs may face pressure to become shorter, more flexible, and more closely connected to demonstrated ability. Employers may increasingly ask not only where someone studied, but what they built, what they investigated, how they reasoned, and how effectively they work with both people and intelligence systems. The degree may not disappear, but it may lose its position as the only credible signal of readiness. Universities will still matter, they will simply have to make visible what the real value was all along. There is a danger in treating AI as an educational miracle. A system capable of personalizing learning must collect or infer an enormous amount about a child. Strengths, weaknesses, interests, behavior, confidence, mistakes, and perhaps emotional patterns. Who owns that information? How long is it stored? Can it be used to advertise, rank, predict, or label the child years later? What happens when the tutor is wrong, biased, or designed around values the family and community never chose? And who decides what knowledge is presented as neutral? Education has never been free from values. A curriculum always reflects choices about what matters. An AI tutor can make those choices invisible, personalized, and continuous. That is why schools cannot simply hand children commercial systems and call the result innovation. There must be age-appropriate design, transparency, privacy protection, independent evaluation, and meaningful human oversight. Children must also retain the right to grow beyond the predictions made about them. A system that learns a child's patterns should help open possibilities, not turn early behavior into a permanent digital identity. We should not ask only whether AI can teach. We must ask who controls the teacher. When machines can produce information, summaries, and first drafts on demand, some people conclude that knowledge no longer matters. That would be a serious mistake. You cannot evaluate an answer in a field you do not understand. You cannot ask strong questions without enough knowledge to see what is missing. And creativity does not emerge from an empty mind. Children will still need mathematics, science, language, history, and the arts. But these subjects may need to be taught toward a different destination. Not memorization as the final goal, but knowledge that supports reasoning. Not writing only to produce text, but writing to clarify thought. Not science only to recall facts, but science as a method for separating evidence from belief. Not history only to remember dates, but history as training in power, causality, and human behavior. Alongside this foundation, schools may place greater emphasis on capabilities that become more valuable when intelligence is abundant. Curiosity, judgment, resilience, communication, collaboration, creativity, ethics, and the courage to act without certainty. AI may become excellent at generating options. Human beings will still have to decide which futures are worth choosing. For centuries, education was organized around a difficult task, transferring scarce knowledge from one generation to the next. Artificial intelligence may become extraordinarily good at helping us do that. And if it does, it will force us to confront a more important question. What was education for in the first place? Was it to store information, to pass examinations, to prepare obedient workers for systems designed in another century? Or was it to help a young person discover what they can contribute, how to live with others, and how to make responsible choices in a complicated world? The school of the future should not be a room in which children spend the day staring at machines. It should be a place where machines handle enough routine work to give children more time with people, more time to move, more time to build, more time to argue respectfully, perform publicly, create imperfect things, recover from failure, and learn how to belong to a community. AI may provide every child with a tutor, but a tutor is not a childhood. It is not friendship, it is not character, it is not purpose. The greatest opportunity is not to automate the education system we already have. It is to use AI as the pressure that finally makes us design the education system children actually need. Because in a world filled with intelligent machines, the most important outcome of education may no longer be producing people who can compete with machines at retrieving answers. It may be producing people who know which questions matter, which answers deserve trust, and what kind of human being they want to become.